We're going to be talking about prayer today, okay? And good morning, Sarah. Good morning. Good morning, guys. We're going to be talking about prayer today because it's important, okay? If you pray or if you don't pray, it's valuable information because it's not about the act of praying itself, okay? It's about the energy behind it, okay? So, what am I talking about? Well, when you pray hard for something, okay, chances are, because you're praying hard, okay, there's often a hidden signal underneath, okay? So, hidden signals, what is that? Energy, okay? You're not your body, you're not your name, you're that energy that lives in here, okay? But when that energy, okay, let's say is in a state of urgency, okay, you're praying for something that you need an answer for or that you need done, okay, that energy is implying, I don't have this yet. I need this. I hope this works. Okay, please, you're coming from, please, please, please make this happen. Please do this. Please do that. Please. Okay, what is that? That's being needy. Okay. Good morning, Jay. Good morning. Okay, so when this happens, now I'm not saying that prayer is bad, okay? I'm saying the energy, the way you pray, and the state that you pray in. Okay, I pray all the time. Okay, normally before the live, I say the Our Father, okay? I'm a Christian, so I say the Our Father, okay? But I'm a spiritual Christian, okay? I'm an aware Christian, okay? And when you are aware, you understand the esoteric meanings of the scriptures that are written in the Bible, okay? So the prayer part is important because a lot of people pray the wrong way. They pray out of desperation. They pray out of fear, right? You're fearful and now you're going to pray. Remember what doubt and fear does to manifestation, right? Okay. So doubt and fear just kind of keep your goodness out there, the things that are meant for you. It kind of keeps it out there. Why? Well, because you have that energy going on. It's that energy that you're projecting. So if you have fearful energy and you're praying while you're in fear because, mom or dad gets sick, or you're praying for your friend, okay? So here's the thing about praying for someone else. Okay, God lives in here. Okay? God lives in the people that you pray for. Okay, so if somebody that you know is sick and you're praying for them, okay, God lives in them too. But guess what? We need to take responsibility for ourselves. Okay, so when you pray for someone, okay, when you're asking for someone else, if their subconscious is not in alignment with what you're praying for them for, it will not happen. Yeah, I know. It's sad, right? Okay? But that happens. Okay? Because you do not have any power over someone else's free will at all. Okay? It's the same as, wow, I see that girl and I really like her. Well, what if she doesn't like you? You cannot manifest that. You cannot make it happen because you cannot violate someone's free will. Okay? You cannot, you can influence someone, like, men do it all the time. They pretend they're nice guys, right? When they're young, when they learn, then they're more authentic, okay? Authenticity is the highest vibration. Okay, why do I skip around like this all over the place for you guys? Because I want to paint a picture. Okay, Jay and I were talking this morning. Jay was telling me, well, you skip all over the place, and by the time someone asks a question, you're already down here. And I'm like, yeah, because I want to draw a picture for you. I want to encompass as much as I can so that you understand how this works, how you work as a human being with your subconscious. Okay, because manifestation is not magic. This is not magic. This is not summoning a demon to work for you. This is not summoning an angel to work for you. This is you working, a human being. You have the power. Okay? So today we're talking about prayer. Okay, see how I brought it back? Okay, you see? Okay, Jay's taking notes. I know she's taking notes. I'm teasing her. Anyway, so when you project energy in lack, okay, so lack, okay, plus effort, now you're pushing lack, or let's say, right, fear, doubt and fear. Now you're pushing it out with effort. What is that? What is that? Energy. And then so it's lack plus energy, okay, plus mental gripping. Why mental gripping? Well, because this is something that's bothering you, so you're praying for it. This is something weighing on you, so you're praying for it. And now what are you doing? Well, when you project this on your subconscious, what does God have to work on or work with? You see? Okay, so God can only work with what's in your subconscious. That's all God can do. Okay? Because I know if you're religious, you go, well, God can do everything, anything. True. Okay? But you have free will. Okay? As a human being, you have been given the gift of free will. So when your subconscious, the one that goes wash, rinse, repeat, when your subconscious has doubt, fear, okay, or beliefs other than you're asking in prayer, God's like, well, I can't help that. Why? Because it's in your subconscious. So we call it a positive mindset. We call it positive thinking. We call it all of that. Okay, but if you don't consider yourself good enough and you're praying for something, God cannot give it to you because God will not violate your free will. God will say, well, he doesn't believe in that. He doesn't feel worthy. Okay, well, then I won't give it to him. So what happens when I pray for the sick, disabled, addiction, and abusers? So what you should do is feel wellness for them. When you pray for them, because you cannot violate someone's free will, okay? So, for example, it's the same as if I said, I want to curse someone. Okay, it's the same thing. Now, if I do that, right, I can't affect somebody that way because they have their own free will. They have their own subconscious. You normally pray for yourself first, then others, or others that need a lift. Okay, so everybody's responsible for their life, okay? Everybody is responsible for their existence. It's important to encourage, okay? So when you know what they say about hope, right? Yeah, okay, good user. So you know what they say about hope, So hope is important, right? But what is hope? When you say, I hope this happens, I hope that happens, it's a form of doubt. Okay? Now, I know you've been taught that hope is a positive word. It doesn't mean anything. I hope this happens. That's like me saying here, try to take the pen from my hand. If you do this, okay, you've taken the pen from my hand. Okay, try to take the pen from my hand. I show this to my clients all the time. Okay, and then they do this again, and I go, no, put it back. They put it back. It's okay, try. Okay, this is try. This is try. I'm trying. You're not doing anything. I'm trying to take the pen. Okay, this is not a verb. Trying is not a verb. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, this is trying. Okay, now that we have that established, okay, let's talk about the subconscious. Because everyone has free will, when you pray for someone, let's say you're praying for them to get well. Okay, let's say you're praying that they love you. Maybe you're praying that they do this, that, and the other thing, or that something happens. Because we need to take responsibility for ourselves, it is more important to inspire someone to get well, to inspire someone to think positive, to inspire someone to think wellness, to inspire someone to eat well, to inspire someone to exercise more. Okay? To inspire. Because inspiration creates motivation. When you inspire someone, okay, you motivate someone. It depends on what you're inspiring them for, right? So there was this guy that I worked at this corporation, and there was this guy that wrote a book, and it was called Persuade, and he was a salesperson. And, I guess he thought that that's the way you do it. You don't persuade people to buy. So what does persuade really mean? Persuade means that you go and change their mind. You manipulate them into whatever it is you want them to do. Everyone has free will. You have no business manipulating people. Okay? But you can inspire them. You see? Okay? In other words, persuading involves saying, "Oh, no, it's not like this." And you're trying to pull them around to your way of thinking. But when you inspire someone, you go, "Hey, look, you know what I did? I did this and I did that, and I saved this amount of money," or whatever it was, or whatever, this lady came and she bought the product and she did this and she saved money, and she, give them all the good points, right? Now you inspire them to buy. And guess what? If you inspire them, they will inspire others. But you have no right to change or persuade someone to do something. Because then what you're doing is you're manipulating their thoughts to try to align them with yours or their beliefs. So this applies to religion, it applies to sales, it applies to everything. So when I saw the book and it was called Persuade, I got a chuckle out of it. I said, no, that's not how you do it. That's not the most effective way to do it. But if you're coming from ego, the left side of the brain, then of course it's the way to do it, right? Because then what you're saying is, I changed their mind. Okay? Ego. I, the power, changed their mind. I persuaded them to do this. I persuaded them to do that. I influenced them to do this. No, you need to inspire. Okay? So it's different. So if you're praying for someone, it's more important to inspire them towards wellness. Does prayer work? Yeah, prayer works, but it's conditional. It's conditional to what's in the subject's subconscious. Okay, let's say you're praying for someone to get an A on a test. And let's say that person doesn't believe in themselves. God cannot go in there and make them believe in themselves because God gave them free will. Okay, people don't think about that. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Okay. So prayer does work, but prayer is conditional because prayer is separation. What am I talking about? Well, when you pray, right? So it depends, like I said, it's the energy of the prayer, the way you pray. Okay? Because normally the way religion teaches it to people, it's like we're praying to God, God is in the sky, God is watching over us. Okay? But Jesus Christ told you that the kingdom is within. You have to buy or you want to be lucky in the future, said the saleswoman here once. You have to buy or lucky in the future to get the same deal? Is that what you're talking about, Manuel? Get the same deal? Be lucky for what? So when you pray for someone, if they don't believe in themselves and you're praying for something that takes, belief in someone's self to accomplish it, nothing will happen. God can only do what's in your subconscious. if you believe in yourself, God can help. So there's this old saying, right? It says that, God helps those who helps themselves. Let's say it another way. God helps those who believe in themselves. Why? Because God lives in here. Okay, God is in here. God is not up there, out there. God is in you. It's in the scriptures. Okay, if you're a Christian, it's in the scriptures. No, she said, you want to be lucky in the future. You don't, oh, if you don't buy. Oh, I see what she said. Okay, yeah, that's a tactic. That's a sales tactic. Okay, that's manipulation. Okay, yeah, that's right, Manuel. That's right. Okay, so here's the paradox. The subconscious and nervous system don't respond to your words as much as your emotions. Okay? This is why the Indian philosopher Shanakwa said, your feelings are your God. Okay? So your nervous system and your subconscious, they don't work off of anything else but how you feel. So if your body is, let's say in subtle tension or urgency when you pray, okay? Because people pray when they're scared. People pray when they need something. Okay, that's fear. That's a state of fear. Okay. But when your body is in subtle tension, urgency, or, like trying to make this happen, well, I'm going to pray because we need this to happen. Okay, let's get the prayer warriors together because we need to make this happen. Okay, because of prayer in numbers. Now, if not all of them feel the same way, it could work, right? It could work. But if you're in urgency, and that's why I said the energy is important. Okay, if the energy isn't right, and this goes back to intention. If the intention, okay, because intention also matters. Intention is like, I intend for this to happen. Prayer is, can you please make this happen? Now it involves two entities. Okay, whether you're praying to God or universe or source or Jesus Christ or Allah, now there's two. In the Bible where it says, if two or more come together in my name, it shall be done. Okay, if two or more come together in my name, it shall be done. It's talking about the conscious and the subconscious in alignment with each other. And you can add the superconscious to that because the superconscious is God. So it's if the conscious and the subconscious come together in the name of the superconscious, it shall be done. What is this really talking about in scripture? It's talking about if all of these three states of awareness within you, the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious, are working in synergy together, are in alignment together, it shall be done. But if there's fear involved, if there's doubt involved, if there's lack of confidence involved, because that's fear, okay? If you think you're not worthy, or if you question, okay, if you're questioning, there's doubt, right? Any of these things, cancel it out. It's like saying, I want this, but I'm going to do this, but I believe in myself, but there's no big fat buts. You believe or you don't. Okay, this politically correct gray area stuff? There's no gray area with this. Because once you fear, once you doubt, the subconscious goes, okay, whatever. So that topic, whatever the topic is, right, doesn't happen. But you know what does happen? The subconscious goes, oh, we're fearing, we're doubting. And then wash, rinse, repeat. And then fear and doubt become a habit when you think of whatever it is that you're trying to bring into your world, that you're trying to bring into your life. And if you bring things into your life through fear, it won't last. It cannot last. It cannot last. And this is why I tell people with relationships, okay, if you're starting to fear that she's leaving or he's leaving, whichever, your subconscious is going to start performing little actions that are going to be conducive to pushing her or him away. It works the same way with prayer. Okay, today we're talking about prayer. So this involves your nervous system, okay? The parasympathetic nervous system, to be exact. But this is how the human being works. And once you have that, whatever idea you have in your subconscious, God says, okay, there you go. It shall be done. Why? Because you came together in his name. That's what it says in scripture. The conscious subconscious comes together in the name of the superconscious. Or another way to say it, the subconscious and subconscious have come together in alignment with the superconscious, and it shall be done. Because there's alignment. They're not going to tell you this in Sunday school. They're going to get you interested in the story. Okay, if one or more come together in my name, there's a lot of things that have come together with tons of people, and they pray, and nothing happens. Why is that? Well, they don't have the understanding, because you have to stand under these principles. If you're just focused on the story, so in other words, what I'm saying is, if you're just imagining something separate from yourself, something out there. Jesus said the kingdom is in here. God lives in here. But if you're focused on something up in the clouds watching you, some other entity out there, now there's two separate things going on. You and that exterior source that you're praying to. Okay? I'm checking for comments. Okay, you guys can ask me questions. Yeah, you understand, user. Yeah. So it's like that. But it's the energy behind the prayer. It's the intention behind the prayer. It's the way you're praying. If you're praying out of fear, like, oh, my auntie's dying. She's dying of cancer. I need to pray. Okay. Please, God, please. Okay. And if you're praying in fear, in that energy, without being happy first, why would you be happy? You would only be happy if you knew it would come to pass, if you knew it would be. And the average person would say, well, I don't know. Okay, doubt. There you go. No manifestation. So manifestation is subconscious. Now, does everything go according to, let's say you have, I'll get to your question in a second. Let's say you have an illness that you're praying. Let's say somebody in your family has an illness and you're praying for them. Okay, so is it guaranteed? Like if you two or more and no, it's not. Maybe they were on a bad diet. Maybe they were doing something, that was artificially affecting their body. It could have been alcohol, could have been heroin, could have been whatever it is, right? It just depends. Okay, so let me go to this. I am a God. Hey, good morning. Welcome. Some of these Christians don't realize they're manifesting demons and angels that don't exist into... It's all about energy. Well, it's all about the energy is the intention, is what I'm saying, user. So you have to have the proper energy when you pray. Prayer works. So let me get to that. I am a God. Okay. Films. I don't even know if I have like the right person, but religion controls that narrative. Religion controls a lot of narratives. You're right about that. Yeah, you're right about that. And the demons is just your subconscious. I tried to add a nickname and I changed my whole name. I'm Peabody. Peabody, hey Peabody, how's it going? No, you're absolutely correct. Religion, so these are the systems of things, okay? Religion controls narratives. They do. They project narratives, but they project narratives based on stories. Okay, so esoterically, okay, the inside knowledge, it's about parables. Parables have meaning. Okay. The other thing is that if you know how to interpret what they're really saying esoterically, there's hidden meanings. Exoteric, okay, is the knowledge that they feed the masses. Now the masses cannot understand everything. The masses are not equipped to understand everything. This is why Jesus taught in parables. When they talk about many are called, few are chosen, they're not talking about God choosing a small number of people. Okay, when they say the gate is narrow, they're not talking about certain people can go and then certain people cannot go. And certain people are better than the other people and the other people get. No, it's not talking about that at all. It's talking about consciousness. It's talking about awareness. Some people see and some people don't. Some people go through their whole lives sleeping. Why? Because 95% of your subconscious is wash, rinse, repeat. Okay, and yes, there are entities that control narratives that make you feel small. Such as Stoicism, we took religion out of the narrative and instead replaced it with logical thinking. Yes. Yeah. So that's the left brain thinking. And this is why they tell you in scripture, Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father, because they're talking about migrating from the left, which is what Peabody's talking about. Okay. From the left to the right brain. Because they replaced it with logic, and logic has nothing to do with God. God is not logical at all. God is spiritual. So now again, we go back to the body and the spirit. The body, the physical world. Okay, your body is your interface into the physical world. They're not going to tell you this in church. They're not going to tell you, wherever you donate money, they will not tell you this, okay? They might tell you this in Bible study if you have a small group and the group is, has the knowledge. But now we go back to the physical and the spiritual, because logic is the physical. It's a part of the physical world. Logical processes, okay? Logical systems. The systems of things that Jesus said he will be with you till the end of. Okay? When he said, I will be with you until the end of the world's not going anywhere. It's not going, you're going. I'm going. We're going. The world is going to be here. Okay? So what was Jesus talking about? What the original text says, the original scripture says, is I will be with you until the end of these systems of things. What systems? All of the systems. Okay? The military industrial complex, the legal industrial complex. This was in place when Jesus was alive. Okay? Roman canon law. Okay? It's just a better system. It's a bigger system. Okay? It's a more sophisticated system. Now we have AI that's going to take systems to a new level. A lot of humans aren't going to like it. But that depends. It depends on the checks and balances that are placed within the system. There's the grocery industrial complex. Costco, you buy in bulk, you eat in bulk, then what? Oh, then you need the medical industrial complex, because now you got to fix it, so you go to the HMO. So it's a merry-go-round like this, okay? But you're a consumer. Everything, if you look at everything in life as a business, it'll be easier to handle. Emotionally, mentally, physically. Gautama Buddha said, right? He said, the man who sees the world as an illusion escapes suffering. The man who sees life as an illusion. Why? because the illusion are the man-made things out here in the physical world, because they came from someone else's in here. They're not God-made. God didn't make those. God made nature. God made animals. God made the trees that produce the oxygen that you breathe. Therefore, you are one with the tree. God created you. And you have the power in here. You have the God in you that can bring you whatever you desire. There's a process. It's not magic. It's your subconscious. In Job, in the Bible, in Job, right? What I fear falls upon me. That's true for everything. Why? He's talking about your subconscious. Job was talking about his subconscious. But if you read the story, you go, wow, this guy, he got tortured with all kinds of stuff. He went through all kinds of hardship, and he still loved the Lord. He still thanked God, and he went through all kinds of stuff, and of course. But it's talking about your subconscious. So esoterically, if you understand the scripture the right way, what is the lesson? The lesson is you don't need to fear. Jesus told you that. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go around and quote all the scriptures and everything, but fear is the opposite of love. What did Jesus teach? He taught love. Okay? Love God more than you love yourself. That's the superconscious. One of the 3 states of awareness within the kingdom. And he told you to love thy neighbor as thyself. Why? Because God is in them too. Okay? God is in you. God is in me. God is in everyone. If they want to access it. This has nothing to do with being a cheerful person, a nice person. It doesn't have to do with that. There's no morals attached to that except your responsibility to yourself. So what I'm saying is, you can do whatever you want to someone else, okay? But it comes back to you in your subconscious. It's not forcing you to. I have my opinions. Everybody has their opinions, right? Okay, when we see something and we say, well, I don't like that, or the heck with that, or whatever with that, right? We have our opinions. But just know that when you express an opinion, your subconscious does not know if you're talking to another person or if you're talking to yourself, and it's recorded in your book of life. Your subconscious is your book of life. People don't understand that. And then they shy away from things. Then they feel guilty inside. Right? Then they become withdrawn like this. They go like this, and they go like this, and it gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And what is this? This is anxiety. This is fear. The root is fear. This is shame, guilt, and fear, and anxiety. All of those things look like this. All the negative emotions. Worry. Okay, worry is the least of the negative emotions. It starts out like this. Okay? Then envy, despair, grief, guilt, shame, fear, full-on fear. Okay? And what do people do when they get afraid? They strike out. So a lot of these people that you see, right? The reason, all these riots that you see, the reason they're striking out so hard is because of the amount of fear that's in them. And what are they fearing? They have fear of loss. They don't want to lose whatever it is that they're losing, or whatever it is that the counterpart, the counter side, is against, that they're doing. It's fear of loss. And what's happening? Are they winning or are they losing? It's not up to me to make that judgment, because it's ongoing anyway. There's no winner. There's no winner right now. Okay? But you see these things. And you see people getting vile. You see people getting ugly. You see people striking out. Why do people strike out? Fear. Because fear is the void. Fear is the emptiness. Fear is the lack. Fear is the absence of love. It's the absence. It makes you do some terrible things. Some people live in fear all the time. The fear is the dark energy, the yin and yang. There's light energy, there's dark energy. Much respect. I want to hug you, appreciate you, and the information you are giving freely. I love it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I sit here for a reason. I sit here to wake people up. People are sleeping in their subconscious. Okay? Fear is so you know how people talk about demons. Okay? Oh, you'll summon a demon. Well, if you're doing a deliberate chant or a deliberate incantation and you're trying to summon a demon, your subconscious knows, and it will summon that negative energy. I've never seen a demon in my life. I've lived a long time. I've been around a lot of dangerous people. I have seen demons, but they've only been in human bodies. They've only been in human bodies. Have I felt negative energy? Oh, yeah. And we had to clear it. Does negative energy attach to you? Sure. Everything is energy. But it's your subconscious that brings it back again and again and again. It's your subconscious that keeps repeating the bad stuff that's happening in your life. The good news is it's easy to change. Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. And today we're talking about prayer, the difference between prayer and knowing, the difference between prayer and meditation. Prayer is not bad, not a bad thing at all. I've tested prayer. Every time I pray, it comes out. Why? Because in my subconscious, it's already there as a belief that when I pray, boom, it happens. But I'm just saying, if you get fearful, oh, grandma has cancer. Oh, please, God, please, please. Okay, now you're coming from lack. Now you're coming from, we don't have a healthy grandma. Now you're coming from, please, God, you're pleading with God. What is that, negative or positive? Hello? Hello? But when you come from loving grandma, when you go to the hospital and you lay hands on grandma, and when you project love onto grandma, when you hold grandma's hand and you say, I love you, grandma, please focus on wellness. That's a very difficult thing for someone in that kind of position to do, okay? It took me years to master the art of wellness, thinking wellness when you're sick. It's the last thing you want to think about. Why? Because you're focused on how bad you feel. Okay, so my best friend was blind, and I took care of him he took care of me too. We took care of each other for a long time. Okay. And I've always had girlfriends and stuff, and but he was always there. And I saw this guy get sick, right? He was blind. He would get sick, and in 3 days he was well with no medicine. And I would ask him, you want Tylenol, you want, whatever you want cough medicine, whatever, you want to go doctor? He said, no, I'm good. And I saw him get rid of it, and he did it here, and I'm like, whoa, that's interesting, because I always went to the doctors. I always took medicine, right? So pretty soon I started trying to figure this out. And then when I did my research in 2007 for the voice stuff, for all of the other stuff, when I did my research, I was like, oh, that's what he's doing. He's doing positive thinking. He's focusing on wellness. He didn't tell me that, but he was focusing on wellness. And how do I know this? Well, because I started taking these herbs. Okay, it's called Wellness Formula. If you guys want to look for it on Amazon or something. Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for sharing how to rid negative energy. Yeah, you fill with positive energy. That's how you do it. So anyway, you can get it on Amazon, okay? Just to help you guys. Wellness Formula. I never missed a performance in 15 years when I was doing the entertainment thing. Okay? The other good one is Umka, cold and flu. UMCKA, Umka. on Amazon. So what I do is my process, okay, when you get the first symptom, okay, like like, oh, you feel that thing, right? You kind of go like that, you kind of twitch a little bit, right? What's your first reaction? Well, because we've been conditioned in society a certain way, right? We go, I got this, right? And you ignore it. Okay, the root word of ignorance is ignore. Okay, I'm not saying you're ignorant. I'm just saying when we exhibit or when we act in ignorance, we're ignoring, we push it on the side. Okay, that in itself, that act is ignorance. Why? Because your body is telling you something. Your body is saying, hey, something's coming on. Hey, something's not right, right? And you sense it. Why? Because you have intuition. Intuition is your guide, your inner divine guidance. Intuition. If you listen to that voice, because you hear it as a voice, you hear it as your voice, but that intuitive thought that you get, that feeling that you get, if you pay more attention to it, my life is pretty easy now. It has been for years. Are there challenges? Oh, yeah. You're supposed to have challenges. Is my bank account filled with millions and millions of dollars? No, of course not. Then what does it? It's the way I think about things. And it's my faith on the spiritual instead of the physical. Can you enjoy the physical? Oh, yeah. Can you have nice things? Sure. Can you drive a nice car? Can you live in a nice house? Yeah. But that's not where you put your belief. That's not where you put your trust. That's not where you put your, like, oh, this is the thing. Okay? That's the physical world. You use those things. You consume those things. You partake in those things. But you don't belong to those things. You belong in here. You're not your body. You're not your name. You're that energy that lives in here. If you work from here, okay, now you bring everything. Seek first the kingdom. That's the scripture. Seek first the kingdom, and all else will be added unto you. So in other words, if you focus on your energy, where God lives in here, okay, you're not your body, you're not your name, you're that spirit, okay? If you focus on that aspect of your life, guess what happens? Everything works out. Everything comes, okay? Because everybody is connected through awareness. God lives in every single human being, okay? And when you take the steps, the doors open. What is that? That's God. What is God? God is in here, okay? God is not up in the sky. There's no out there as far as God is concerned, okay? There's nature out there. And then everything else is from someone else is in here. That's the illusion that Gautama Buddha was talking about. It's an illusion because it's man-made. Anybody can make something. Somebody made the system, right? They developed the system. The systems were created over time, and they're getting better and more sophisticated. Okay? And there's casualties to the system all the time. What are the casualties? Well, now with AI, masses of people are going to get laid off. Now they need to find something else to do. My suggestion is go online. Get your companies online. We saw this back in 2007. Actually, 2006. By 2010, most of our businesses were online. We just had one. And when the pandemic happened, we were forced to put the singing school online. If it was up to me, I would have still been there. If it was up to me, I would, I love people. I love contact with people. I love shaking people's hands and, that kind of thing, and being in other people's energies and stuff. And now I'm stuck online. Okay. So be careful what you wish for. Okay. But I'm just saying that these people are going to have to learn new things. Okay. Can a human being learn new things? Oh, yeah, of course. When they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So my mom started painting in her early 80s. And she can paint now. And everybody was like, whoa, we didn't know you could paint. She's like, I didn't know I could paint. I just went to the class. Okay. So this is the neuroplasticity thing. Jay's over there going, oh no, he's talking about neuroplasticity again. So neuroplasticity, neurons that fire together, wire together, and you can rewire your brain. Okay, it's just that people get frustrated, right? It's going, oh, why? Because they're so used to this over here. Okay, wash, rinse, repeat over here in their subconscious. Now you have to learn something new, so now you got to go over here, and this is unfamiliar. This is uncharted territory. This is like you got to believe in yourself kind of thing. Okay, and if you don't believe in yourself, guess what happens? Very little. Okay? You have to believe in this, in here. Okay, because God's in here. Okay, God lives in here. So if you're not believing in yourself, that says you don't believe in God. If you believe in God, this should be automatic. If you don't believe in God, then get to know this one. Okay, get to know this. Whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, either way, you're a believer because you're a human. You have a subconscious. You have a conscious mind. But the conscious mind is 5%. So the majority of your life is 95% subconscious. And most people go through their whole lives asleep. And when I say asleep, I don't mean literally sleeping. I mean, they're on their program, whatever they've been conditioned into learning or whatever they've purposely acquired. And that's their world. That's their understanding. Okay? And this is what Jesus was talking about when he said, you know, you will be measured unto you based upon what you basically understand is what he was talking about. Okay, it will be measured unto you according to your, right? According to your works, whatever. So the point is, whatever's in your subconscious will be measured unto you. Whatever you have learned, whatever you believe, your core beliefs will be measured unto you. If you have evil core beliefs, well, then yeah, bad stuff. If you have good core beliefs, right? You know, people say, oh, God knows your heart. Okay, when they say that, it's another way of saying God knows your subconscious. Because God can only amplify what is in your subconscious. He can only amplify your beliefs, your core beliefs. That's all. So there's conscious, subconscious, superconscious. And today we're talking about prayer. So what's the difference between prayer and lighting a candle? Like, and I'm talking spirituality, okay? Most of my people over here on this platform are spiritual. Most people on my Facebook and YouTube are religious. They're Christians. I have tons of Christians follow me. Okay. So what's the difference? Okay, and I'm not pushing Christianity, and I'm not pushing spirituality, except for the fact that, yeah, you need to examine what's in here, because everything in the universe is energy. Energy is eternal. You're never gonna die in here. Your energy is never gonna die. It will not be extinguished. It will leave your body and go. Your body will stay here. It will go back into the ground. It comes from the ground. Everything you eat and drink, you eat a banana, it becomes a human being. Whoa, magic. You see? So when you light a candle, right, it shifts you into a different vibe. It shifts you into a different energy. You slow down, you breathe, you release control. Why? Because you light the candle, not because, oh, I'm lighting this candle, please bring whatever. You're not doing that. You light the candle, right? You feel the faith. You feel whatever it is going on. You're not praying to a separate entity. You're not saying, please, God, do, whatever. Okay, but like I said, it's your energy when you pray. Okay, it's your energy. Because I've prayed, my prayers get answered. But in my subconscious, I believe that my prayers get answered. And I believe in prayer. And I also know that if I'm fearful or if I'm doubtful, I can't pray because it won't work. So you have to have the right mindset in prayer, okay? That's the bottom line. But when you do something spiritual, like in this spiritual community, okay, you guys, this is for you guys. You already know because you meditate, you light candles, you do whatever it is you do, okay? Whatever your process is. but you come from knowing. You come from celebrating your energy. You come from celebrating your vibration. So it's an extension of that. Okay, there's no fear involved. You're not lighting the candle because you're afraid. You're lighting a candle to commemorate. Okay, so that state is surrender, trust, receive. You surrender. Okay, what are you surrendering? Negative energy. You trust. What is that? The opposite of negative energy. Okay, it's the opposite of doubt. Trust. And then what? You receive. So the energetic language of that is like, it's handled, I'm supported, right? Like, this is gonna happen, we just have to wait. You know, this is gonna work, but we have to be patient. That kind of thing, okay? All right, so when you move your nervous system into, petitioning versus allowing, now your nervous system is like, well, you're petitioning, you're asking, you're pleading, you're begging, you're whatever, but it's not those words, okay? God doesn't understand your words. God understands your emotions. But if those things are involved, then what is the vibration? What is your emotion? Fear. If you're efforting, okay, this is why people like Esther Hicks talk about efforting, non-efforting, because you can manifest things two ways, okay? Mentally, non-efforting, and physically, taking steps, okay? So efforting versus trusting, working hard for something versus knowing that God in you is bringing you what you need, is bringing you what you want. Now, do you just stay there and sit there and wait for it to fall in your lap? No. But if you know that you just have to go through this process, if you know that you just have to do your job and pay your bills on time and be nice to your spouse or whatever it is, and that God will make this thing harmonious and good for you, then it will happen. Does it get spooky sometimes? Yeah, of course. It gets spooky because there's things that we cannot control. And this is why Christians say you can be in the world and not of the world. You can be in this physical system, but not believe in the system itself. And whatever happens within the system, this, okay, or the God in you, or that spirit in you, or the source in you, will make it right. Okay? Because when you partake in fear-based prayer, this is like mind control versus subconscious alignment. Because subconscious alignment, right? The conscious, subconscious, and superconscious working together. That's the biblical scripture equivalent of if two or more come together in my name, it shall be done. It doesn't mean two people. It doesn't mean you go grab your friend and both of you pray for the same thing and boom, it happens. No, because each of you are separate containers of spirit. You're each individual containers. You're individuals. You have your own, right? You have your own governance. You govern yourself. This is your own universe. You are the king or queen of your kingdom. You decide what goes. You decide what you're going to do. You make the decisions, and the decisions that you make turn into results. Okay? So whether you look at consequences as good or bad, consequences are just whatever the outcomes are. Those are consequences. But we tend to say that word and use that word in a negative connotation. So if you have good intentions, you're doing something out of love, guess what? It's going to work. Okay? Sometimes you have to keep at it. Sometimes you have to be consistent. Why? Because the subconscious learns in repetition. Once you get it in your subconscious as a repetitive action, the subconscious goes, oh, that's what we're doing? Okay, I got it. And then it just becomes natural. When I started leaving drama out of my life, okay, when I decided, I had to make a decision, right? Okay, no more drama, right? That was a conscious decision. Your conscious mind decides. I said, okay, no more drama. That's it, right? I'm not going to engage, because when you engage, you join, okay? And I said this like 20, I don't know, more than 20 years ago. And ever since then, my subconscious was like, okay, we're still on no drama, okay? Because I put it into my subconscious. Let me show you what that looks like, okay? Let me show you real quick, all right? Here. This is the one I'm working on now. These are affirmations, okay? Okay, these are affirmations. They're not journaling. Okay, if you're journaling, you better be careful. Okay, I'll explain here, okay? Every day, affirmations. That's why you date them over here. Sometimes they're long like this, sometimes they're short like this, okay? And they start with I am, you are, okay? I am. Now, if you put my name in any browser, any AI, anything, and just put you can put a whole bunch of things in there, okay? You can put businesses in there. It'll show you all the companies I own. Okay, I own a family of service companies in Honolulu. They're all online. Okay, you can put teaching method in there. It will give you my teaching method. Put my name and teaching method in any browser or AI. It will show you. If you're in Google, go into AI mode. It'll pull up everything a lot better. I'm not flexing. I'm telling you that if you do this, it will work. Okay, and I didn't believe this when I was young, because I had a mentor when I was 13. Okay, until my late 20s. It didn't start working till my late 20s because I didn't commit to putting it into action or into use. There's two ways to do that. You can make the mental decision and say, okay, I commit to that. And then every time you go outside of those boundaries, you can remind yourself, okay, come on, I got to do this, right? That's mental work. Or you can do physical, okay? Physical work. We have our physical process. If you apply these 4 pillars to any one thing in your life, it will work. My clients get results in 3 months. They get results. In 3 months, they clear. No anxiety, no overthinking. Okay, I don't make medical claims, but some of them stop taking medicine. They get off their medicines, antidepressants, stuff like Xanax and stuff like that. Okay. Now, I'm not making medical claims or saying you should do this because, of some medical reason. But I have to say that, okay? But it's affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. It's a little bit of work. It's less than 15 rise as well, okay? First, you have to write it down so you can visualize it. What does your outcome look like? What does your 1-year plan look like? What does your 5-year plan look like? What does your 10-year plan look like? Okay, when you get old like me, what does that look like? Okay, when I was doing this, like in my late 20s, I had no idea that I would end up with what I have now. I had no idea. This was a work in progress. It kept growing. It kept growing like that. And the only reason I have a family of service companies instead of one company is because I felt that one company was no challenge. I wanted a challenge. Is it still challenging me? Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I'm down for the challenge. I want to work. An entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur, okay, like Elon Musk, like all those guys, the big dogs, okay, they're all going to die in the middle of a ton of projects. So I'm not afraid to die in the middle of 8 or 10 projects. Okay. I'm not a big dog. I'm not big like that. Okay. I never wanted that. I never aspired to that. My reason was freedom. I do what I want, when I want, how much or how little I want, and we kind of go from there. But you can do it too. That's what I'm here to say. You can do anything. You can do all of this. Any and all of this. you can select what's not working and go, okay, let's write an affirmation to fix this. And you can fix it. Okay? In 2 weeks, you'll start to feel the difference. In 66 days, it will be a program in your subconscious. You have no idea how powerful you are as a human being. Why? Because you're focused on the physical world. You're focused on the news. You're focused on what your boss tells you. You're focused on what your parents told you. You're focused on what Gautama Buddha calls the illusion. Okay? Because this is the reality in here. You're not your body. You're not your name. You're that spirit, that energy that lives in here. Everything out here has been invented, produced, constructed by another spirit. The bigger it is, the more chances it was created by a bunch of spirits. Okay, all the construction workers you see working on the towers, the big towers, a bunch of spirits. They're all spirits in here. Okay, people come, people go. Industries come, industries go. We're just visitors. We're just visiting for a short little time. You only live this like this one time. One time like this. One time like you. Okay? Make it count. You don't want to have a bad experience. You don't want to have a crappy life. You don't want to suffer. I suffered. I suffered a lot. I slept on the street, when I was like 19, 20. It was a perfect time too, because I was 19 and 20. Now, if I slept on the street now, it would be a different experience. Okay. But the bottom line is you have the power to do anything you can have, do, or be anything. Okay? Put me in a browser, put me in a AI and whatever. Or you can go to Amazon. I don't normally push my book. Okay, but you can go on Amazon and get this book. It will inspire you to change. That's what it's for. It's to inspire you to change. Okay, there's real stories of real people that changed their lives in my office in this book. It's not about how to sing, okay? But it's about how your voice can heal you. Okay, and people are not really talking about this. Why? Well, there's this thing called the medical industrial complex. They want to give you medicine. They want to, put you in therapy. They want to do all that stuff. Now, I'm not going to disregard those things. I'm not going to talk bad about the medical industrial complex, but it is what it is, okay? But just know that these people in here, there's a story about a lady in here who got off her medicine. There's a story in here where a lot of people got past their fear and anxiety, and it just left, and they became confident, okay? And they did wonderful things, amazing things with their lives in here. So anyway, it's on Amazon, The Universal Law of Attraction and Singing. And thank you in advance if you get the book. If you have Kindle, you can read it for free. Okay? I'm not here to try to make money off their lives. Although, I will see you if you want to be a client, and I'll get you off of this anxiety. I'll get you out of this, if that's your pain point, if that's what's bugging you, that's easy to get rid of. Anyway, we'll see you guys tomorrow, okay? 7 o'clock, I'm getting the signal from Jay over here. And you guys, I have an offer for you guys.